Hey folks, this is Mr. TARDIS, and I'm looking quite red at the moment because I've been out and about on location during a very hot couple of days in the UK. I've definitely caught the sun, but I will have the last laugh because I'm going to tan so well. And there's also no chat here either because I'm not live. I'm not streaming at the beginning of this week because of this job that I'm doing. I'm going to be streaming again on Wednesday evening, that's July the 13th, and I wanted to talk about this now rather than bring the mood down whilst on what should be a Doctor Who news live stream. And what we have now is once again this time when my media advocacy and the safety in the media workplace and also some tangential Doctor Who stuff that has collided once again, and it's also happened in regards to the Noel Clarke allegations that happened in April 2021. If you want to know my thoughts on the whole incident, or if you want a catch up or a rundown of all the details and stuff, bam, I did a video last year about it. So yeah, check that out, but if you want to get caught up. However, it's been brought back up again because of Sophia Myles on Twitter. Now, Sophia Myles is a very vocal person on Twitter, on social media. For those of you who don't know or don't remember, she was Renette Poisson in Series 2, The Girl in the Fireplace. She was the titular Girl in the Fireplace. She was also Lady Penelope in Thunderbirds, and she's done a lot of TV and film projects, including Silent Witness. And she also does a lot online about safety and justice and stuff like that in life, in work, in you know, trying to be a good advocate for survivors of abuse and trying to create safe spaces on these very regular Twitter spaces that she does. And she had one today. This is the Monday, and like I said, I wasn't in the space, I wasn't able to listen to it, so a lot of this is second-hand information that I've got. But she was in a Twitter space which she called Sophia's Safe Space today, and she started defending, I don't know how it came up, but she started defending Noel Clarke, and we did get a brief snippet on here. This is from King's Merliving on Twitter, who captured this 20-second snippet, so let's give this a quick listen.
I know, wholeheartedly. You know, Noel Clarke is not a sexual predator. It's not. But that's my opinion, you know. And if you want to base your ideas, you know, off an article you've read in a newspaper, then feel free. But you know,
unfortunately, there's a lot of people that do that.
Yeah, you're right. I know.
So yeah, this is the only clip I've been able to find of her talking about this in the space. However, a lot of quotes have been shared by people, and the sentiment of her defense has been quite well circulated. She was trending on Twitter along with Noel Clarke, you can see here, although Sophia appears to be trending a lot because just a lot of people are posting that she's been name searching on Twitter and blocking everybody who talks disparagingly with her about this take. I did hop into the Sophia's Safe Space at one point. I didn't listen, but I saw that Noel Clarke was actually in the space as a listener. So while Sophia was here saying that Noel Clarke is not a sexual predator, he was here listening in the space. Also, props to, like I said, I wasn't there for it, props to Rassilon Productions, friend of the live stream, friend of the channel, who apparently did get to be a speaker in Sophia's Safe Space at one point, to basically say, you know, why do you think this? Like, why do you hold this opinion despite 20 women having come forward about Noel Clarke's alleged sexual harassment and sexual abuse in the industry? And Sophia promptly booted him from the safe space and blocked him, and there was a lot of good riddance, you know, a good thing that twat's gone, basically. So props to Rassilon for, you know, speaking up about it, and Sophia seems to have massively gone on the defensive here. So some of the stuff that she said during the safe space, which is a pretty ironic title for the Twitter space, considering that Noel Clarke was there and she was defending him. Apparently, one of the reasons that Sophia knows deep in her heart that Noel Clarke is not a sexual predator is because, quote, I know a predatory man when I see one. So apparently, because Noel Clarke doesn't look like a predator or doesn't look like someone who is capable of sexual harassment or sexual assault, then it clearly didn't happen. And there was also this quote here, this choice one, quote, he knew me when I was at my fittest and he never tried anything. So presumably Sophia's thought process here is because he knew me in the mid-2000s when I was young and attractive, then he never tried it on with me, so clearly nothing happened. Let's quickly remind ourselves, because in that clip I played, Sophia tried to downplay the severity of the actual allegations. Like I said, this is the original Guardian article written by Siren Cale and Lucy Osborne, and during that clip that we played, she was saying if you want to believe something that was just written in a newspaper, that does downplay the actual credentials of the people writing it. Lucy Osborne hasn't written much for The Guardian, but everything that she has written for The Guardian as an investigative journalist and film producer has to do with abusive men in industries. For example, she did some write-ups on Amy Doris's accusing Donald Trump of sexual assault, Gerald Murray, and also Jean-Luc Brunel. So this is basically her field, trying to expose powerful men or men in positions of authority who abused that and who abused the authority in order to harass people, primarily women, and Noel Clarke is one of the names here. So this isn't just like some tabloid, here are 5 things you won't believe Noel Clarke did on the set of Doctor Who. It's not that. It seems like in that clip, at least, Sophia Myles was really trying to downplay this. Now, I don't want this video to just be, let's bash Sophia Myles. I would rather use this as a jumping on point to show that what Sophia Myles has said is almost objectively just bad activism. And I also think that if the roles were changed around, if there was a different person involved, somebody who Sophia maybe didn't know so closely, or someone who she had a working relationship for in the past, would she believe these talking points that she has been applying in this context? For example, she, like that quote I mentioned earlier, saying that because he knew me when I was at my fittest, he never tried anything, that means he can't have been a sexual predator, or I know that he's not a sexual predator. That's just, on the face of it, just really, really dumb, because Sophia Myles, I'm assuming that she's talking about when they worked on Doctor Who together. They were in the same episode. Noel Clarke was a guest companion in The Girl in the Fireplace in Series 2. And they did share a couple of scenes together. So I'm assuming that's what she's referring to. However, the people that Noel Clarke targeted on the set of Doctor Who, allegedly, once again, like, Noel Clarke does deny these allegations, but 20 people have come forward who don't know each other, who came forward independently of each other. The people who Noel Clarke went for on the set of Doctor Who was a wardrobe assistant, were runners, 2 different separate runners who were driving him around or were on set, and one of them complained to the higher up and they were just moved to another department. And also there was somebody at that convention, I can't remember the exact convention it was, but they were put on Noel Clarke's table to assist him at a convention, and Noel Clarke was sexually harassing her, and then they were just laughed off by the higher ups at the convention. So, you know, Sophia Myles is somebody who was like the titular guest star of an episode of Doctor Who, like a big name. Noel Clarke's probably not going to go for people like her in that context. He's going to go for the people who won't be believed, the people who are more vulnerable, the people who can and were moved to different departments if they spoke up about it. To say that, you know, Noel Clarke never tried it on with me, you know, a powerful woman in the media industry with authority and clout, the guest star, doesn't mean that he didn't try to go for those who are more vulnerable. And what's most concerning with Sophia Myles having this safe space online with Noel Clarke listening in, the fact that she had a working, or maybe still does have a working or friendly relationship with Noel Clarke, means that, you know, maybe she is too close to this situation and that is her line when it comes to advocacy. I think that, I don't want to say that Sophia Myles does advocacy bad. She's been around in the industry, she's got a high profile, she's definitely done way more advocacy and raising awareness and supporting people than your average person in the industry. That's like beyond dispute. But I think that when you do media advocacy or advocacy in general for better working conditions and safer spaces in the industry, you kind of need to know where your personal line is. When do you stop doing that advocacy? Is it when a family member gets accused? Is it when the person being accused is somebody who you're a massive fan of or something? And I think what's happened here is that Sophia didn't know where her line was until she smacked bang into it today and got a lot of pushback for it. I also imagine it would be really disheartening that if Sophia Myles was maybe on another project in TV and film, and a runner or a costume, wardrobe, makeup assistant or whatever gets assaulted or harassed by a director or a producer or a big name actor on that set, and it's like, oh, I've seen Sophia do loads of advocacy on social media. Maybe I can talk to her about it. She's got influence and clout. Maybe if I talk to her, she'll believe me and I'll be taken seriously. But then you go to Sophia on that set, and oh no, I like that director, that producer, or that actor, the alleged person. I don't think that they're capable of doing it, so I don't believe you. I think that I'm not saying that Sophia would do that, but that's the vibe you get when you're in a space like this, and she starts uncritically defending Noel Clarke despite having incredibly credible allegations. And once again, this Guardian article you can read, it appears that Ciaran Cale and Lucy Osborne have a lot of receipts. They have the unsolicited Snapchats. They have apparently the footage and the videos of the naked casting couch stuff that Noel Clarke did as the head of a production company. Really deplorable stuff that really should be beyond defending. And with somebody with the credentials of Lucy Osborne as well, and also The Guardian, they would not publish this unless they knew it was airtight or had a lot of credibility to it. To just hand wave it away as, no, I've worked with Noel Clarke. He doesn't look like a sexual predator. He's a nice guy. I've worked with him in the past and he didn't try it on with me. That is bad advocacy. Like that, apparently that is Sophia's line, and that was pretty disheartening to see. It is completely ludicrous to have that train of thought, and I also think Sophia maybe knows that. I also think that's why maybe she dug her heels and she kicked people out of the safe space who are trying to make it a safer space, and she starts blocking people as well who criticize her or call her out for this bad advocacy. And then, like, an hour after all of this happens, she's retweeting these Discord groups, support group for survivors, victims, and fighters, at the same time whilst trying to defend somebody who has had 20 women come forward over a period of, 10, 15 years of sexual harassment and sexual assault. Like, it's not, this doesn't seem credible now. I don't want to approach this from a place of anger. This is disappointment. This is me responding to somebody who I thought knew better, who I thought would not fall for those trappings, who would not fall for, he doesn't look like a sexual predator. What does a predator look like? They can, anybody, especially those in positions of power and authority, are capable of that behavior. He hasn't been tried. He hasn't gone through the legal process. But, that's, it sounds like a reductionist framework, but the world doesn't work like that. Power and the authorities and legal power is there to uphold the status of the powerful and the influential. Just because somebody hasn't been tried for it doesn't mean that it happened. It just meant that, they didn't have the day in court, but there was no consequences and no closure. For example, I've talked about this before, but I was sexually assaulted on a film set, and that never went to trial. It still happened, though. You see the rich and the powerful and the influential, flaunt their ability to get away with things and be above the law and be above reproach. Those things still happened even though that they never went to court. Things going to court and being tried by your peers and being sentenced, that's, it's nice to have it, but that can't be the be-all and end-all when it comes to these perceptions. And once again, it's a power dynamic thing. If I had done exactly the same thing as Noel Clarke did, would Sophia Myles be defending me? Or would she be speaking out against me? I hope it would be the latter. She doesn't know who I am, but I hope you take my point. Is the fact that she is so close to Noel Clarke or has a working relationship, is that what has clouded the judgment here? Is that what has affected this approach at advocacy? These aren't questions that I'm asking of you, the viewer. These are questions that I'm hoping, upon reflection, Sophia Myles is asking of herself, and she obviously doesn't need to talk about the answers that she comes to, but I hope that she reflects on this and asks the questions. And also, she was talking apparently in the safe space a lot about, cancel culture, which honestly is just such a stupid term. Now, it's one of those terms that has kind of been co-opted by the political right as a way to just try and kill the conversation and to try and shut down dissent. You know, cancel culture is now just something you throw out there as cancel culture is obviously bad, and because I said that this is cancel culture, it means that I'm in the right now. It's stupid framing. Colloquially, like, isn't cancel culture like people on Twitter getting mad at you and then blocking and whatever? I don't know. Well, you know, with Noel Clarke, it wasn't a Twitter mob. It was thorough and intensive Guardian investigations. How is that cancel culture? You know, was Harvey Weinstein cancelled? You know, was Roman Polanski cancelled? You know, it's stupid framing. And honestly, I think if it was almost anybody else, Sophia Mowers would know that these are ridiculous and reductionist and unsustainable arguments, but because it's Noel Clarke, she's prepared to make them. And I think a lot of people were really disappointed in that behaviour today. Now, I understand that when you have a terrible and bad take online, that the gut instinct reaction is to dig your heels, to block, to go on the defensive, and I get that gut instinct, and I don't begrudge Sophia Mowers for that, at least in principle. I, for one, avoid that completely by never having bad takes on Twitter, but that's just me. But I hope that once, you know, things have calmed down, you know, once Sophia has logged off and maybe taken some time to reflect, I hope that she understands where the disappointments from people has come from, why people are upset and annoyed, and she should also maybe think about the stances that she's taking and whether or not she would apply them to Harvey Weinstein, whether or not she would apply them to somebody else. But anyway, I'm tired. I've got more filming this week, but I'm going to be streaming on Wednesday night. Subscribe, comment below, all of that good stuff. I'll see you all next time.